Hey, Freddie, how's it going?
Hey, Jose, how are you doing?
All right, you're promoting Blue Eyed Girl. All right, tell me a little
That's
bit
right.
about how you got involved with this.
Well, I just got an offer to be in the film, and I read the script, and I really I thought it was wonderful, and it was a great cast, and the guy who directed it wrote a film called Age of Adeline with Harrison Ford, and I really liked his work there. And I thought that our film was indicative of that movie. It was just this sort of beautiful romance movie. And Marisa Coughlan wrote our movie, and she also stars in it. And our movie is about the complexities of marriage and a relationship. And I've been married for 30 years, and so I could certainly understand what that is. And it's about how a relationship seems great on the outside, and the marriage, the white picket fence, the kids, the cars, all that, but behind closed doors, how someone could be really unhappy, and feel a void. And that's certainly what happens with my wife. And she travels to Minnesota for her father's funeral, who's played by Beau Bridges. And during that time, she reconnects with an old boyfriend who's played by Sam Trammell. And sparks fly, and that void becomes even deeper, and it puts our marriage in jeopardy. So the film is about how we get through this situation in our marriage, and how we have to save our marriage.
Hmm. Uh, life, life reflects art, right? And art is life, and sometimes they're intertwined very well. I want you. I mean, you're an overnight success, right? 'Cause that's how things are. But you've been around quite a bit. Tell me a little bit about Angel Street and how did you prepare for that role way back in 1992?
Oh boy. I was still in high school when I did that. That was the wonderful thing about when I was in Chicago during that time, and I was in high school. There would be productions that would come through the city, much like I would imagine. I think Chicago Fire is shooting in Chicago now, and Chicago Med and Chicago PD, and so we would get these big Hollywood productions that would come through our city, and then they would cast local actors to be in the TV shows. So that was one of my really early opportunities to be a part of a TV show while I was still living in Chicago and still in high school.
What piece of advice would you give that young man that's dabbing and dabbling in as an actor?
The advice I would give is just to keep going, right? Keep your confidence high, keep going, keep studying, keep getting better at your craft. And this is the advice to all of those young actors, whether you are in Chicago or wherever you are, just to you got to just keep getting better and keep evolving at your skill and your craft. And that's certainly what I did, and that's why I think I've had a long 30-year career.
A long 30-year career. What is the secret sauce to being in this business for 30 years? Come on, give it to me.
The secret sauce. Wow. The secret sauce is to be consistent, I think, is to consistently just try to do the best work that you could. Whether it's a big production, small production, something you think someone may not see, be consistent in your work. Keep a good reputation about yourself. Conduct yourself professionally, and I think you'll be all right if you keep going in that direction.
You had a sizable long run with the Bull. How was that ending for you? Because, when you're working with so many people, you become like part of the family. How was that ending for you? And what do you like most about being on the Bull?
I just love playing that character. I love playing Benny Colón. I love being a Latino representation on TV. I played a lawyer. We don't really get to see a lot of Latinos play play lawyers on TV, and so I feel really fortunate that I got to be one of those. I feel fortunate that our people get to see someone like me on TV playing a professional, and so I was really fortunate to have done that.
You say that with I know with a saddened heart that we are not represented. Is usually thug number one, or drug dealer number three. How important is it for you to find these roles that cast our people, black and brown, in a positive light?
Well, that's what I've been trying to do for the last 30 years is to continue to be an example of how we could be represented on TV and film. And so every time that I do a new film or a new TV show, I'm carrying the representation of our people on my shoulders. And so that's why I think that I always try to do the best that I could, and to do and to try to make it as successful as it possibly could be. So then that way, the powers that be, the people who are watching these TV shows and movies could see that we could be a viable commercial force on TV and television, on TV and film. Pardon me.
Television, film, and everywhere else you can get a gig at. There's highs and lows in our careers, right? There's some patches where there's a little bit dry. What would be your advice be for those little dry spells in between, not giving up hope?
For those actors, look, our industry is filled with ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys, and for any actor that's listening now, I would just recommend to just keep working at your craft. I think that sometimes, going through hardships like that affects your craft. It affects your ability to perform. It affects your confidence, and it's so important that it's like playing an instrument, right? Like you got to keep playing that instrument, whether you're playing a big concert or not, in order to keep your instrument sharp, or your ability to play that instrument sharp. And so like you got to always be prepared for when the time presents itself. You're prepared for it, and you don't let your hardships get to you to the point where it affects your performance.
Thank you so much, Freddy Rodriguez. You've known him as Francisco Diaz in 6 Feet Under, Benny Colón and Bull, and of course, my favorite, Gio and Betty La Fea, or Ugly Betty as we know it, with his new film coming out, Blue Eyed Girl. Thank you so much for your time, Fred.
Okay, Jose, thank you for having me.